We've seen some line movement as we drop down to college football in the biggest game of the season. Georgia now down to a 1-point favorite against Bama. Back up after touching a pick'em at one point during the day, keep in mind. Dogs open as a 2.5-point favorite. Bama, as we said, has not closed as a home dog since 2007. Analytical models agree with the line move. Both ESPN's Football Power Index and Bill Connolly's SP Plus model actually have Bama favored in the game. FPI by a touchdown, SP Plus by merely a field goal. All right, now that all that is out of the way, let's head down, Joe, to T-Town and bring in our good friend Stanford Steve. How's Tuscaloosa treating you, big man?
It's great. I got a little itch, though, on my upper lip. I don't know if Joe has any of that today. I'm not sure about that. But it's great. It's good. Weather looks good. Top 5 matchup coming up, so we're fired up, obviously.
Wonder if that itch has anything to do with you being 10 minutes late for the radio show today.
That was internet problems.
Internet
Sorry.
problems? Yeah. Okay.
All right, boys.
Sure.
Calm down. We know Joe versus Steve challenge will be on tomorrow's show. Let's talk about this matchup. College game day there. A lot of love for Bama this week. Steve, do you agree with it?
I do, Tyler. When you look at the matchup, I believe it favors Alabama. When you talk about being a home game on Saban Field, what Georgia has looked like the last time we saw them on the road in a hostile environment against Kentucky, whose strength is not offense, to be in that game all night long. I love what I've seen from Alabama so far. Kalen DeBoer's offense has been spectacular. They finally have their offensive line intact. You saw that when they went to Madison and rolled Wisconsin. So all hands on deck. Alabama, I believe it should be a pick'em game. But Georgia laying in the weeds, the narrative of what we saw Georgia look like last time and Alabama the last time we saw them, I think that's playing into the live movement also.
God, I hate this because I'm on the other side and he's been red hot this year. So it's like you find yourself in a spot where you trust the handicap, but the guy who's been nailing every pick is going against you here. I want to drill down on something Steve was talking about, that last game out against Kentucky. I think that factors into this line move here. Georgia was not impressive at all. But again, we're dinging them for winning a game. That's what good teams do. They find ways, even on their off days, to win football games. They're the more battle-tested team. We forget about the fact that they absolutely rolled Clemson on a neutral site in the first game of the year, and Clemson's gone on to dog walk their 2 opponents since then. So this is a team that's played pretty well. I think the value is down. Remember, that dud against Kentucky from an offensive perspective, that is nothing new for Georgia. They seem to have one of those every year. Last year it was Auburn. The year before that it was the Missouri game. So I'm willing to overlook that, and I think coming into this game, it's a bit of a buy low on the Bulldogs, who were minus 3.5 in this game back in August.
All right, boys, we got another good one Saturday in South Bend. Notre Dame hosting Louisville. Steve, do you trust the Irish here?
I trust the Irish secondary. I think it's among the best units in all college football. But when you talk about what they're going to be able to put on the field offensively against a team in Louisville who got tested last week against Georgia Tech, battled at home against a Georgia Tech team who had played 5 games to their 3. But the Notre Dame secondary is something that you can rely on. Their playmakers in the back there, creating turnovers. You know, say you turn the ball over, they're able to hold teams to a field goal instead of a touchdown. So that's what I believe. The thing that I'm not sure about is the way people move in and out of the transfer portal. Louisville embarrassed Notre Dame last year at Louisville. Does that mean anything? Is this a revenge spot? I don't believe so. I think Riley Leonard wants to come in, play well. The line keeps going up, which doesn't make sense. It maybe tells you Louisville might not be healthy on their side of the offense and defense. So Notre Dame's defense will keep this in game. It's starting to get to be a lot of points and more than I would like to give, Joe.
I'd look to the total here. I think the under could be a play at 46.5. It's dipped a couple points from earlier in the week. There's some thought that Hurricane Helene could have an effect on this game. So like we've been telling everyone, continue to watch the weather for all these games on the East Coast and in the South. They could have effects from that storm. Notre Dame's defense has been outstanding this year. They haven't allowed more than 16 points in any game they've played. And I think the Louisville offense, a tad bit overrated, okay? They beat up on 2 teams early in the season, but then last week they had a matchup against Georgia Tech where they hung 31 points and won the game. That sounds great, but when you go inside the box score, 14 of the 31 points came from a block kick that was returned for a touchdown and a fumble that was returned for the touchdown. So the offense only generated 17. It's not necessarily to knock them and say they're terrible, but I think the price factors in Louisville having a relatively solid offense, I don't think we're going to see much from them in this matchup. I don't want to lay the big number on like Steve. I think it's getting too high. Under 46.5 would be the attack.
All right, both of you guys last week nailing outright money line dogs. Rutgers, and who was your pick, Steve?
Navy.
All right.
Navy was
Went
a
with
really
the
good one.
Naval Academy. Salute to you there. Both, again, outright money line dogs winning. So let's do the same thing for the viewer again this week. Starting with you, Steve. Who's a dog you like?
I look at Arkansas as more of a capable team. I think they should be an undefeated team. They gave that game in Stillwater to Oklahoma State, and now you come in, you play Texas A&M, new quarterback for A&M. But when I look at Arkansas and you hear coaches talk who have already played them, Bobby Petrino, who calls the plays for the Razorbacks, has gone all the way deep into his bag from his days at Louisville with Lamar Jackson. And now Taylor Green has been sensational this year. He's a transfer from Boise State, great in the run game, has been good in the pass game. Arkansas is more than capable to pull off this upset against A&M.
I'll go a little bit north. Western Michigan in their matchup against Marshall. Western Michigan's +4. They're about +145 on the money line. I'll take that approach. Love the spot here. They're coming off the bye. They're starting to get really healthy, taking off a Marshall team that just got busted up by Ohio State last week. No shame in that. That's going to happen against Ohio State. But Marshall now turns its attention to this game. Maybe this is a relatively meaningless game, not a conference game for them. And they're going to get caught looking ahead to a 3-game upcoming schedule of very big conference matchups. So this could be a little flat spot here. Remember, this Western Michigan team that opened the season went to Camp Randall and hung well with Wisconsin for a while in that game. So I like Western Michigan to spring the upset on Marshall here.